Bueno, by now you've looked at AR verbs in the preterite tense, regular ER and IR verbs in the preterite tense, and stem changing verbs in the present tense. Now let's take a look at ER and IR verbs that while they have a stem change in the present tense, what needs to happen to them when we are conjugating in the preterite tense. If you remember, with stem changing AR verbs, in the preterite tense, those stems do not change. They do in the present, they don't in the preterite or the past tense. That's going to be the same answer for what to do with an ER verb that while it has a stem change in the present, in the preterite tense it again does not, just like the AR verbs. So words like defender, which was an E to IE stem changing verb meaning to defend, or entender, to understand, also an E to IE stem changing verb, or volver or devolver, which are both O to UE stem changing verbs in the present tense. They are an ER verb with no stem change in the preterite. So two examples, entender and devolver in the infinitive. In the present tense, yo entiendo and yo devuelvo. In the preterite tense, yo entendí, yo devolví. Stem change in the present, no stem change in the preterite for an ER verb. IR verbs, though, if they have a stem change in the present tense, they will have a preterite tense stem change, just not necessarily the same one that you've seen before. Verbs that we want to look at. We've got the E to IE verbs, preferir, referir, and sentir. Those mean to prefer, to tell or narrate, or to regret, to feel, or to be sorry. E to I verbs, medir, pedir, and venir, to measure, to ask for or request or to order, particularly food, and to quarrel or to scold. Repetir and servir, both of which are cognates, meaning to repeat or to serve, and dormir and morir, dormir to sleep, morir to die, both again O to UE verbs. All of these are verbs that have a stem change in the present tense and some degree of a stem change in the preterite. Let's take a look at where those stem changes actually happen. They do not happen when we are conjugating for yo, for tú, for nosotros or nosotras, and if we're in Spain, for vosotros and vosotras, meaning they don't change their stems when we conjugate for the first or second person, whether it's singular or plural. The stem change does happen in the third person conjugation. Singular, usted, él, and ella, and plural, ustedes, ellos, and ellas. We will do a stem change. Let's take a look at what that stem change actually will be. If we have an E in the stem or the root of the verb, in the present tense, that E might change from E to IE or E to I. When we are conjugating in the preterite tense, for the third person, either singular or plural, we're going to change that E to just an I. Sentir is E to IE in the present. In the preterite, sintió, ellas sintieron. She felt or did feel, they felt or did feel. Remember that conjugation can be either one of those two translations in English. And see how we change the stem from an E to just the I. Servir is E to I in the present and E to I in the preterite. Usted sirvió and ustedes sirvieron. The ending is still the same as it is for the preterite conjugation of ER and IR verbs that were also regular. It's the stem that we're looking at for the differences. Now we have the words that are O to UE stem changers in the present tense. When we have a third person conjugation in the preterite, that O changes to simply a U, not the UE. Él durmió, or ellos durmieron, he or they slept. Bob se murió, los hombres se murieron. Bob died or the men died. Not an O to UE, just an O to U. And again, those endings are the same as they are for preterite tense, regular ER and IR verbs as well. So let's look at a full conjugation for all three of these different present tense stem changing verbs. Sentir, the E to I, E verb. Yo sentí, tú sentiste, usted, él, and ella sintió, nosotros y nosotras sentimos, ustedes, ellos, and ellas sintieron. Pedir, an E to I verb. Yo pedí, tú pediste, usted, él, and ella pidió, nosotros y nosotras pedimos, ustedes, ellos, and ellas pidieron. And lastly, morir, our O to UE verb. Yo morí, tú moriste, usted, él, and ella murió, nosotros y nosotras morimos, ustedes, ellas, and ellas murieron. No stem change for yo, tú, nosotros, and nosotras, the first and second person. Stem changes for the third person, both singular and plural. So let's review. Which present tense stem changing verbs also change their stems in the preterite tense? That's right, just the IR verbs. Perder, a stem changing verb in the present tense. What is the correct preterite conjugation if our subject is ella? Perdió, right. There's no stem change because it's an ER verb. If we're looking at stem changing IR verbs, which ones change their stems in the preterite tense? Your answer is D, third person, both singular and plural. She and I slept. How are we going to translate that? Ella y yo dormimos. First person plural, no stem change. An O to UE stem changing present tense verb. What happens to the stem change in the preterite? Just the U. Great job. Do a little bit more translation before we finish. You all preferred the pens. Ustedes prefirieron las plumas. We changed the stem from an E to an I for this particular verb. He slept in the bed. Él durmió en una cama. Leo asked for a strawberry. Leo pidió una fresa. I understood the test. Yo entendí el examen. We lost the books. Nosotras perdimos los libros. And you, familiar, slept in a chair. Tú dormiste en una silla. Prefirieron, durmió, pidió, entendí, perdimos, and dormiste. Make sure you have your accent marks, and make sure you only have a stem change on a third person conjugation, both singular and plural. Well done. Que bien.